Degrees are no longer the pathway to the American dream. What happened? This was once the golden ticket in America to get to not the golden dream, but the American dream. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That has since changed. A lot of CEOs are now changing their minds about that 4-year degree and no longer requiring them. With the rising cost of education, why did this happen? What spurred this? But that's going to be today's topic and more. Tune in as I give my breakdown, theory, and synopsis. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, you're now tuned into the Investor Show. As always, this is your gracious host, the Prince of Investment, Prince Dykes, coming to you guys and girls live all the way from this beautiful city and state of Denver, Colorado, via Honolulu, Hawaii. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and make sure you hit that like, subscribe, comment, and share button. And as always, I don't have a lot of time, and I definitely know you guys and girls don't have a lot of time, so we're going to jump straight into it. You guys and girls see the topic below. You seen the intro, things like that. Degrees, what happened to them? Now you're seeing so many CEOs come out saying, hey, college degrees are no longer required. This was once the golden ticket to the American dream. What happened? So my parents, rest in peace to my mother. She would have been about 76 years old today. My dad is alive. Much blessings to him. He is 77 years old today, and they was born in the late 40s, mid to late 40s. And they earned their college degree, and during their generation, their era, that was the golden ticket. But that now has changed. Why has that changed? Number one, look at the way information is done. Most people will say, "Oh, degrees, you don't learn anything. Degrees, you can blah blah blah." My belief it is due to technology. It is due to technology, and what I mean by that is technology has now taken away what we thought was intelligence. Keyword is thought. Why do you say this, Prince? Just think about it. When you was in school, I remember this. Shout out to my 8th grade teacher, Mrs. Quick. On Monday, she would give us 5 spelling words. If you was in the smart class, you would get 10 spelling words. But we would get 5 or 6 spelling words and on Monday. And on Friday, she would give us a quiz. Pretty easy task, right? And I struggle with this so much because, just like everybody else. When did I decide to study? Friday morning. Friday morning, I would try to study these 5 or 6 spelling words that I had to pass in the 8th grade. So I did get a lot of 60s, but then I did get some 80s, and then occasionally I may get 100. But ladies and gentlemen, here it is. She would go in and she would give us spelling words on Monday. Then on Friday, we would come in and you just had to spell the words. If you spell the words correctly, pretty easy task, you got 100. If you got 100, you added those grades up, you was considered a smart, intelligent student. And if you spelled those 5 words correctly, maybe they may move you up to the next, not to the next grade, but to the next level of school, which could be, hey, you're now going to get 6 spelling words or 7 or 10. Anywho, you look at what this intelligence was really measured by. When you look at what this intelligence was really measured by, it really was measured by your ability to remember. So if you had a good memory, like I got a lot of good friends who got a photographic memory, they can look at something and regurgitate it, for days and days, right? Is that really truly intelligence in the real world? Your ability to remember? No. But when you look at our education system, it's built around your ability to remember, right? When I look at certain people talking about what they can remember, for prime example, you can remember vocabulary words, and you had to go in and mix and match. You had a good memory. Long story short, that's what our education system was based upon. On top of that, the ability to access information. The ability to access information has definitely changed. We can access information now at the lightning speed of our phone, or talking into our phone, or now with these new AI computers, you can just talk into your computer and it'll tell you the answer. So Google has replaced the library. Our access and ability to access information 24/7 at our fingertips has definitely changed what we consider intelligence. Also, the ability to remember. Technology has changed what our ability to remember. We no longer need to remember things back in the day like we used to, right? Now, what do you mean by that? If I ask you the question right now, who was the 15th president of the United States? Some of you guys and girls might know. Majority of you probably won't know who the 15th president of the United States, because I don't know myself. I'm just throwing out a random number. So if you don't know who the 15th president of the United States is, how long does it take you to get that information? How long does it take you to get that answer, right? It takes you seconds in order to get that answer. You can look at your phone, you can Google, you can talk into your watch, right? You can go to your laptop and you can have that answer within seconds if you wanted to get that answer. If you not fast forward, but you rewind about 4 or 5 decades ago, it would take you days, not even 4 or 5 decades ago, 2 or 3 decades ago, it could have possibly taken you days to get that answer. You would probably have to either call a friend. Hopefully, if you're lucky enough, your parents might have the encyclopedia at home. If your parents don't have an encyclopedia at home and you can't phone a friend, and maybe you got some old outdated books at home, guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to go to the local library. Hopefully the local library is open on that particular day. You got to wait till Monday morning to go to the local library. Hopefully you got a library card and it's not expired. And then on top of that, hopefully you know how to use the library. Using the library was a course. That is an art itself. So when you look at the ability to access information, it was totally different. You look at it today, something you can get in blistering speed. You can find it, right? You can look up any formula you want. Right now, somebody said, hey, if a mortgage is, what would be my mortgage if my interest rate was 6.5? A 6.5 30-year fixed mortgage, and I had my house, the house costs $350,000. What would my mortgage be? You can pull out your little handy dandy financial calculator and click, 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 and be like, exactly, this is what it would be. Now, today, you don't need to know any of that information. You can just Google mortgage calculator. Mortgage calculator pulls up. You can put in how much did the house cost? This much. What was the interest rate? This much. Is it fixed? Yes. How many years? 10, 20, 30-year fixed mortgage. This would be your mortgage calculator, right? This would be your mortgage. And it will find it out in blistering seconds. So the ability to remember these fancy formulas, this ability to remember all these different equations, I can just ramble off so many financial equations. That information is no longer needed or desired or wanted. It's my belief due to technology. Technology has replaced the ability for you to retain all this information. People used to walk around with notebooks full of phone numbers and contacts, and they had a Rolodex. That's where it came from. Let me go through my Rolodex. Let me show you my Rolodex, because a Rolodex was literally, I remember my mom had these Rolodex where she had everybody's phone number and name and stuff like that and address, and she would flip through it and call people and look it up. Now everybody has that information on their phone. They can just press a button on their phone and say, call XYZ. Right? And have their picture, their name. They don't even need to do that anymore. Now you can just DM people. You can email people all from your phone, from your watch, right? So the ability to remember information is no longer as valuable. The ability to access information is no longer a skill, because anybody can Google. Anybody can get on here on YouTube or listen to a podcast and within seconds have information that they was desiring and looking for. This is my belief of why the ability for you to, what we consider quote unquote intelligence from a degree, because guess what? I mean, you can go in and take tests, and you can go take quizzes and things like that and score good grades and be the valedictorian, and something I never was. But you all know that being good at college or being good at school did not equate to being successful in life. Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? That's because the ability to go to school, we all knew that most of the people that did well, the entrepreneurs and business people, were C&D students, people like myself. How is that? Why is that? Because we know that education does not mean success. Just because you have a fancy degree or you have the ability to listen and learn and regurgitate, not bad skills to have, does not equate to success. How many people know what their valedictorian or salutatorian is doing today? Pretty sure a lot of them going off and done great things. But we know a lot of them that didn't really pan out. And you ask yourself, why? Man, that person was so smart. They had all of the academic skills you could dream and imagine. That information, ladies and gentlemen, is no longer as is needed, right? Because, and also, you know, a lot of people who don't have education, who don't have academic skills, and they have tremendous skills. This is another thing I want to walk you guys and girls down. I know we talked about technology. We talked about the ability technology has taken the ability to, not the ability, but the need to retain information, because you got it all at your fingertips. You got so much information at your fingertips. Also, technology has taken away you having to wait and drive across town and catch a ride and go to a library or rely on what somebody told you. Back in the day, you had to make a long distance phone call, what they call it, long distance call, in order to call somebody and ask them these type of questions. Now this information is at your fingertips. Let's go to another question, ladies and gentlemen. Now you're looking at people's ability. Not only do you have technology, you're also looking at the people's ability to talk to people. Prince, what do you mean by talk to people? Let's walk this down. Computers really started to take over in the 90s, mid 90s to early 2000s. The majority of the workforce in the 90s, these people probably came out of the 70s. Not statistically speaking, but just generally speaking, they're about 30 years old, making up majority of the workforce. So majority of the workforce is about 30 years old. This workforce, where did they get their information from? Where did their true skills come from? Their true skills came from the ability to talk to people. They were strong in social skills because this generation grew up on the playground. This generation grew up on the monkey bars. This generation grew up on the school bus. This generation grew up in the sandbox where you had to go outside and play and stuff like that, right? So when computers came along, a lot of this generation, majority of this generation struggled to get adapted to the new way of doing things. It was no longer licking a letter and mailing it across the country. Now it was email. This was no longer, hey, let me call you when I get home. People had cell phones now. No longer had to take all these meetings. People are jumping on Zoom and phone calls. They weren't big, and telecommunication wasn't big in the late 90s, early 2000s, but it was coming around. It was pretty slow and dial up and all that stuff like that. But let's not get off the topic. They had very strong social skills, but they lacked technical skills because computers were new. People didn't grow up on computers. Now you fast forward to today, kids are born on computers. Take my son, for example. He got a phone, he got a tablet, he got a Nintendo Switch, he got a Netflix, all at his fingertips, just information. He talks into his phone, he talks into his phone, talks into his tablet, talks into his TV, right? Talks to his remote control, talks into his TV, right? So when you look at this, very strong technology skills he's building. But guess what I don't let my son do? I do not let him go outside, go into the garage, grab his bicycle, and ride it to the local park. Heck no. Those days are gone. Parks look like ghost towns. I feel embarrassed because I feel like I have to go walk my son, right? What I mean by that, he gets on his bike and I have to walk behind him. I have to walk to the park with him. I have to sit in the park with him. Even though he's 11 years old, he's about to be 12 years old next month. He is more than capable of going down to the park and coming back, right? It's right in our backyard. So, but guess what? The world has changed. You don't see kids outside just playing and doing things like that. When I was born in the 80s, the early 90s, hey, I would get on my bike and ride it all off in the woods of Georgia, play around in the woods and the trees. Hopefully you get bit by a snake or whatever. And that's what you would do, right? You would go in and you would hang out, you would have fun, and you would come back home when the street lights came down or the street lights cut on, then you would get back home, right? Those days are gone. You cannot just let your kids go out and roam and play unless you live in the country and got a big old ranch or something, right? And even if you do got a ranch, you don't want an animal to come out of nowhere and do something too, right? So you got to be very careful of what you do now. So kids, guess what? The downside about kids is that they are lacking that social skill. They lack that social skill. My son doesn't go out and just hang out at the bus stop and these type of things. So that's another thing. So this generation has strong technology skills, but very minimum social skills, generally speaking. So with that being said, now you're seeing job fields are no longer as big on technology. They're bigger on social skills because they're looking at it saying, hey, this generation, man, they can come in and write codes and do cyber, and they're born on computers. You know, we had to take typewriting classes. Remember those typewriting classes and keyboard classes you had to take to put your fingers on the home row key so you can type efficiently? Kids are born on that. They know their home row keys is imprinted on the back of their head. They sleep with their home row keys on the back of their mind, right? But guess what? They lack social skills. being able to know how to, having the ability to go out and make friends, establish relationships, build long-term relationships. Those skills are now becoming very valuable in the workforce, right? So now you're seeing some people are like, well, that's good. You got all this fancy paperwork, you know how to use a computer, but where are your social skills? You know how to talk to people and get things done and make things happen, get motion going, right? So that is the drastic difference that I learned from people and their skills and their abilities to do certain things, right? That's something I want to keep on you guys and girls' mind. But guys and girls, we're going to take a quick break. I mean, a very quick break, and we're going to talk more. I want to see what you guys and girls got to say about these degrees. What companies are saying, hey, degrees are no longer the path to the American dream. And we're back here on the Prince of Investment, coming to you guys and girls live. My name is Prince Dykes, talking to you guys and girls about the degrees. It's no longer that golden ticket that we all grew, knew, and loved. Why did that happen? You're seeing now when you're going out in your on your job search, you're not seeing bachelor's degree required, master's degree required, masters are higher, associate degree are required, right? They're taking those things away. Why is that? What happened? Because the skills that we knew, having those strong writing skills, now AI is taking over. You don't have to do that anymore. The information is no longer as valuable because people have Word. You got things like companies out there like Grammarly that will help you write. I mean, I still need to help with it myself, but it's not a big defining thing. I've known so many people, especially in the technology field, if you got a computer science degree in 1995, let's say if you got a computer science degree, that thing is obsolete here in 2023. You have to keep going back and updating things. The beautiful thing, if you got an MBA back in 1995 or a doctorate degree, or DBA, a doctorate in business administration back in 1995, it's still useful in 2023 because yes, business, the way business has not changed. The way we do business may have changed, but guess what? Some laws may have changed, but the way we do business is kind of the same. A balance sheet is a balance sheet. A cash flow statement is a cash flow statement. An income statement is an income statement. An asset is an asset. A liability is a liability. Price to PE ratios, debt to income ratios, debt to earning ratios. All these ratios are still the same. The only difference is now you don't have to do the formula no more in the back of your head. The formula is you look up right now in a split second. You can find out what Apple stock PE ratio is. Now you get down to the world of investing. How did this information change? You got to look at it. The information that we can just find in the snap of a finger in 2023, this was luxury information back in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. Why? Imagine Uber just released their earnings, had their best quarter ever. How would you get this type of information back in 1930, 1940, 1950, even 1960? How would you get the quarterly earnings of Coca-Cola? You would have to know somebody. You would have to contact Coca-Cola, go to the investor relations, get this information to you, right? So you didn't have the internet. You just couldn't email somebody. You had to be kind of plugged in. And the people that did have the balance sheets, cash flow statements, and income statements of corporations back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, or back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s, especially, they definitely was an upper leg on investors. Now you come back in 2023, You have all this information, but everybody has this information. People can look at the network of a company in a split second, looking at the assets and the liabilities off a balance sheet. People can look at the top line revenue, the bottom line revenue in a split second on that income statement. People can get a snapshot of money moving in and out of a business in that cash flow statement in seconds. You can find out what was Disney's earnings, what was Netflix earnings, all the top companies in America. You can find all that information out in seconds. So what we learn, and I read a lot of books, and when I read a lot of books and companies, individuals that invested back in the day, your Warren Buffetts, your Peter Lynch's of the world, they put a lot of great information, a lot of fundamental stuff in there that they say, hey, this gave me significant edge over the market. But now everybody has that information. Is it really an edge like it was before? Right? So here's the difference. Now that everybody has this information, who's really using it? Now that everybody knows the PE ratio in a split second, you don't even have to do the math anymore. You don't have to look up to see what the network of a company is no more. It tells you. What is the network of Apple? How much debt does Amazon has? What is the cash burn of XYZ? What's the current assets and current liabilities of Disney? It would tell you all in a split second, right? But now that everybody has this information that was once a great value and an edge on the fundamentals of a company, who is actually going to utilize this information? It's not about what you know, it's about what you do with it. It's not about who you know, it's about who knows you and know what you're doing, right? So everybody has this information now. Who's going to do something with it? Our grandparents and our parents, in some cases, like my parents, they suffered from having little to no information. It was hard to get information, right? But now you go in with my parents today, they suffer from having too much information. What do I mean by too much information? Not our grandparents, our generation, the grandchildren have too much information. We have so much information. We got podcasts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Everybody's a day trader. Everybody knows how to trade. Everybody's making money left and right. You got cryptocurrency. You got this. You have so much stuff being thrown at you today, you become paralyzed by information. You end up doing little to nothing, less than the people who didn't even have the information. So sometimes too much information is worse than having no information. So that's something to keep in mind as well as you look at what we have going on in the economy and the world itself. Because the old generation just did not know. They didn't know they could invest. They didn't know they could buy stock. They didn't know how to do it, how to get into stocks, how did stocks work, who was a broker. Some of them didn't know and didn't have the access. Today, everybody got the access from their phone to apps to, a split second. You can go out and start an investment account and start investing, right? But now, who is actually utilizing all the information that's floating around? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude today's topic. As I spoke to you guys about degrees are no longer the way to the American dream. And why did this information happen? Number one, I told you guys and girls, this information has happened because we consider intelligence as not intelligence. We consider the ability to remember as highly is intelligence, which regarded, having a lot of good intelligence, right? That information is not true anymore. Why? Because we have the internet. We have something called Google. Now we got Chat AP, PT, whatever it's called, that's coming in. All this AI technology is pretty much thinking forwards. It even sends replies back to emails for us, right? Now, also you looked at is the ability to access information. Back in the day, people had to buy all type of books and drive across town and go into the library and know how to use the library in order to get information. That information is now gone because of Google. So when you look at, then also on top of that too, kids are born with technology nowadays. They come out of the womb playing with an iPhone, playing with a Android, a tablet, playing around their computers. These kids know how to turn their computer, turn their TV on, get to Netflix, get to YouTube, talking to that. They may not know how to spell, but they can talk into their phones. They can talk into their remote controls and get to whatever they want to get to in their rooms, right? So the information has changed. The ability to get information has changed. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's something I want you guys and girls to think of. And that's something I want you guys and girls to really know that now formal education and plus the rising cost of education. Education's cost us so much, it's making people think twice. Why do I want to go pay $100,000 to go earn $30,000? I got a $100,000 degree, but now I got to I only earn $30,000, and since I got to pay back student loans, I can't bankrupt myself out of student loans, so I got to pay back the student loans. So guess what I'm going to do? I am going to get into student. Now I was making $30,000, but by the time I pay back my student loans, I'm at the poverty line. And someone who did not go to school is making more money than me. So what's the real dividend? Now, some people are putting at it that a lot of degrees are worthless. I will agree. People got more access to degrees now. So when everybody has it, it's not as important as impotent. So the access level, too. Everybody can get a degree now. First, it was only safe for the elite people who had the money, resources, and time. Now, degrees, you can go online, you can go in person, you can do night schools, you can have a tutor. Anybody can go to school and get a degree now if they have the, I won't say anybody, but they have the will and desire. It's accessible. So with degrees, increase accessibility, more people have them, supply and demand, baby. Supply goes up, demand stays the same, price comes down. In this case, it's salary. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the rest of my time. I definitely love having you guys. Check me out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at The Investor Show. That's the THE Investor, INTVSTOR, The Investor Show. Did I spell that right? INVESTOR Show, SHOW, right? So The Investor Show on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of the good stuff like that. And hit that like, subscribe, comment, and share button. And check out my book series, the Wesley Learns book series, teaching kids about investing, credit, and insurance with the ultimate goal of ensuring every kindergarten has a funded investment account. Until the next video podcast, cartoon, or whatever else crazy you see me do around the globe, my name is Prince Dykes. I'm the Prince of Investment. Peace, be safe, I'm out, and thank you.
Thank you so much for watching ThinkTech Hawaii. If you like what we do, please like us and click the subscribe button on YouTube and the follow button on Vimeo. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and donate to us at thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.